We're here for the walk around of an all-new car, but what you're looking at right now is a familiar face, and that's because you're looking at the MG Astor. The Astor is essentially a ZS EV with the electric drivetrain taken out of it and replaced with an internal combustion engine. So it's a step backwards. It isn't, because the Astor actually takes everything forwards in terms of the design, in terms of the equipment, in terms of the interiors, and that's what we're going to tell you about in this video. Welcome to Evo India and welcome to our walk around video of the MG Astor. Before we go ahead, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Evo India channel and leave a comment down below. What do you think the MG Astor should be priced at? Let's start with the styling, and the family resemblance to the ZS is very obvious, but there are some key differences, and that's because the Astor is actually based on the facelifted version of the ZS, which has not made it to the ZS EV in India yet. So you've got these sharp looking LED headlamps, you've got LED DRLs, and you've also got these 9 crystalline elements in them. It all looks very sophisticated. The bumpers are fresh, and what's exclusive to India is the grille. MG is calling this the Celestial grille, and I'm guessing that's because the chrome elements in the grille are radiating out of the central MG logo. It's a little bit shoutier than what MG makes on the Astor or the ZS in international markets, but it looks pretty good. And people like shouty, they like loud in this segment, and it should work well for the MG Astor. You come over to the side, and this is where things get familiar, because in profile, this looks very similar to the ZS EV. But again, there are changes, like the wheels. These are very cool looking 17-inch alloys, and you've got red brake calipers behind them, harking back to MG's sporting heritage. You've got heated ORVMs. Now, this is not something you'd notice when you look at the car from the outside, but it's a useful feature to have in the monsoons. As with everything in this segment, you've got black cladding running along the sides of the car, and that gives it that butch SUV-like stance. And MG still hasn't fixed their obsession with badges. You've got 2 badges on the flanks over here on this variant of the Astor. You've got the Brit Dynamic badge, which signifies that this has the turbocharged petrol engine. And you've got the AI Inside badge, because this car does pack some AI technology, which we'll come to in a bit. You've got even more badges at the back. The big one is the Astor badge, which sits in the center. On this side, you've got the ZS badge, because this is part of the ZS family internationally, and MG has chosen not to remove it for India. And over there, you've got the ADAS badge. That signifies that this car comes packing the advanced driver assistance systems, the radar safety systems, which is actually a segment first. That said, the rear is also a very good looking angle. The tail lamps, they've got this nice detailing in them, and it looks very, very good. Now, this Astor, it doesn't look like an SUV in the traditional sense. It's not upright and macho and butch. It's got softer lines, it's got a softer design language, but actually it really looks good in the flesh. You need to remember that unlike the Hector, the ZS was designed in the UK for a global market, which explains why its styling isn't as in your face. And in terms of dimensions, it is marginally longer and wider than the Hyundai Creta, but it has a slightly shorter wheelbase. The interiors of the MG Astor are also very interesting, and what stands out at you first is this red interior upholstery. This is very bold from MG. Not too many people in this segment do stuff like this. Everybody plays it safe with beiges and blacks, but MG is doing something really, really bold. You can also get it with a dual tone white and black or an all black interior, but if I'm honest, this is the spec that you want in your car. But let's talk about the important bits, the driving position. It's easy to get into a good driving position because you do have 6-way electrically adjustable seats, but the steering is only adjustable for rake, it's not adjustable for reach. So that's a compromise in this car. Apart from that, you've got the 7-inch instrument cluster right in front of you. It's a digital cluster, it's got good graphics, good colors, and it helps because you've got the ADAS systems in the car, and it gives you a lot of information about those systems over here. You've also got a digital speedo on the left and a digital tacho on the right hand side. Now coming to the center console, you've got this 10.1-inch touchscreen, and this is again the heart of your MG car. So there's a lot of functionality on here. You've obviously got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you've got built-in navigation, you've got a lot of apps, you've got the Jio Savan app if you want to stream music, and there's so much functionality built in here. And this is also where you control the ADAS features from. Coming down here, you've got a few hard buttons for your HVAC. You've got two Type A USB slots over here. There's a tray here for your phone, but there is no wireless charger, and that I think is a miss because a lot of cars in this segment, and even cars in segments below this, get wireless charger. Over here, you've got a button for the 360-degree camera, which is nice. It's not the first in the segment. The Seltos also does get a 360-degree camera, but it is nice to have. You've got an electronic parking brake, and overall, the cabin feels very, very good. It feels very well put together, and even if you look at the quality of the materials used, all of this leather on the dash, even up here, is all soft touch. So every part of the car that you touch, even the door pads, they're all soft touch materials, and they feel and look very good. One of the big features on the Astor is essentially the AI digital assistant, and this little bot you have on the dash is just a physical manifestation of it. It's not the actual AI. This little thing here has two eyes, and it actually reacts to you when you talk to it in the car. For example, it turns towards you when you say something. Let me show you how it works. Hello, Astor.
I'm here.
Open the sunroof. You know, this is the usual stuff that we could do in the Hector as well, but this AI-enabled thing, it allows for a little more functionality. You can ask the AI to search the internet and feed you information. It can tell you the news updates in the morning. It can have a simple conversation asking how you are doing, and so much more. It can even tell you jokes. Hello, Astor.
Yes?
Tell me a joke.
My dentist said, you need a crown. Finally, someone who understands me perfectly well.
So there you go. That's how it works. Now, this little thing, it does come in the way of your visibility just a little bit. It's a little bit of a hump on the windscreen. It's not too bad. But what I'm interested in seeing is how distracting it is when you actually get down to driving. That is going to be key, and that we can only tell you once we hit the road. And as for tech, that's not all on the MG Astor, because it has one more trick up its sleeve, and that is this, the digital key. So suppose you forget your key at home or in your office and you have no way of getting into your car, you can actually pair your phone via Bluetooth to the car and it'll unlock the car. That's not all, it'll actually start the car. So you can actually start the car and drive it around using just your phone. Now, MG doesn't recommend this for everyday use, but for a once in a while thing, as a convenience feature, it's really, really useful. Coming to the back seat, you've actually got a reasonable amount of knee room here. The seat is set to my driving position, and I've got about 2 inches of space. And I've also got a lot of room for my feet, so I can actually stretch my feet out a fair bit in the front. This, in terms of its wheelbase, is slightly shorter than the Creta, but the room inside is not too bad. I do wish the backrest was a little more reclined though. Otherwise, like the front, you've got a great interior. You've got a lot of soft touch materials even on the back seat. You've got this armrest in the center with 2 cup holders over here, and it's a very comfortable place to be. You've got your AC vents. There's no way to control the speed or the intensity of the aircon at the back, but you also have 2 USB slots for charging your phone. There's a lot of tech on the Astor, and we haven't even started talking about the ADAS yet, but before that, let's talk about the engines. This here is the 1.4 turbo petrol engine. It makes 138 bhp and it comes exclusively mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission, and yes, it is front wheel drive. There's another engine on offer, that's the 1.5 NatAsp engine. Less power, less torque, but it will definitely be more affordable. That engine comes mated to a manual transmission, and it also gets the option of a CVT. As for diesels, there are no diesels on the MG Astor, so if that's what you're looking for in this segment, you might as well look elsewhere. Now let's talk about the ADAS systems. The MG Astor gets a number of safety systems. You've got the usual traction control, ESP, you've got 6 airbags. But what sets this apart from other cars in this segment, the fact that it's got level 2 ADAS. Now that even one-ups the XUV 700's level 1 ADAS. And I'll tell you how it works. It's got radars in the front of the car, it's got radars in the back, in the two corners of the bumpers, and all of that is constantly scanning the road. There's a camera up here as well, and all of that is constantly scanning the road to allow the car to understand what's happening in front of it and behave accordingly. Now, some of the cool features that you have are adaptive cruise control. It can drive along at a certain speed and it'll speed up if the car ahead of you speeds up, and it'll slow down on its own if the car ahead of you slows down without applying the accelerator or the brake. There's also lane keep assist, where it stays in your lane. There's lane departure warning, so if you stray away from your lane, it'll start beeping, and it can also correct itself if you start going out of your lane, so it'll keep yourself in the lane. In addition to all of this, you've got rear drive assist. So the radars at the back, they have their own set of functionality. The first is lane change assist. So if you're changing lanes and there's a fast car approaching, it will actually sense cars up to 70 meters behind and beep if there is such danger. There's blind spot detection. So if there's a car much closer to you in your blind spot and you swerve over into its direction, it will alert you. And there's also rear cross traffic alert. So say you're backing out into traffic and there's a car where you can't see it, you know, in say your blind spot over there where the camera can't see it and you can't see it, rear cross traffic alert will assist you. There's also a speed assist system which basically picks up on speed signs and lets you know what the speed limit on that road is. It can even act as a speed governor and use the speed signs to limit its speeds. There's also active headlamps, so it can detect oncoming traffic and it'll actually dip the headlamps if it feels like it's dazzling a car in front. So there's a huge amount of features packed into the MG Astor, and all of it is pretty cool. How it works on the road, again, that's something we're going to have to see once we drive the cars, whether it works in India, because all of this is subject to a lot of things like good lane markings, good road signs. All of that matters when you're using ADAS. So how useful it is in India, we're going to have to reserve our review for later. So what do I think of the MG Astor? I'm actually very impressed. I think it looks really good. The interiors are very high quality, and features, stuff like the ADAS level 2, that is the cherry on the cake. But there's two pieces of the puzzle that we don't have yet. Firstly, how does it drive? We're going to only be able to tell you that once we drive it on Indian roads. If it drives anything like the ZS EV, I wouldn't be too worried because that was a very nice car to drive. And this is essentially based on the same platform, but we're going to have to wait and see. The second piece of the puzzle is the prices. We don't know how much the MG Astor is going to be priced at, and pricing is going to be key. It is key in this segment. But going by MG's previous launches, I suspect it's going to be aggressive, and I suspect it's going to shake things up in the mid-size SUV segment.
Subscribe to the Evo India channel and hit the bell icon to keep pace with the thrill of driving.